There are certain moments in a relationship, moments so subtle, so quiet, yet so deeply revealing that they expose the truth that took months or even years to see. Moments when someone says a sentence so sharp it cuts straight through the illusion. Moments when a single phrase tells you everything you need to know about their character, their intentions, and the future you'll have if you stay. Most people ignore these moments. They brush them off. They explain them away. They tell themselves it's not that serious. But these small sentences carry the power to predict heartbreak long before it arrives. The truth is simple, yet brutal. Certain words reveal a person's internal world more clearly than their promises, their affection, or their apologies. These sentences show you how they see themselves, how they see you, and what they are capable of in love. They reveal emotional immaturity, hidden manipulation, lack of accountability, and deeper psychological patterns that rarely change. When someone says these things, they are not expressing momentary frustration. They are exposing the blueprint of the relationship you will have with them. And once you hear these 5 statements, the smartest thing you can ever do for yourself, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, is to walk away before the damage becomes irreversible. Most people stay because they hope the words don't mean what they think they mean. They stay because they fear being alone more than they fear being disrespected. They stay because they believe the person will suddenly become who they imagined. They stay because leaving feels like failure. But the truth is that staying after hearing these red flag statements is what sabotages your future happiness. Walking away isn't weakness. Walking away is self-protection, self-respect, and self-leadership. On the Stoic path, you don't react emotionally to disrespect. You rise above it. You don't try to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. You don't give your peace to someone who thrives on chaos. You don't convince someone to treat you well. You hold your standards. You honor your worth. You choose the relationship that chooses your well-being, not your suffering. Stoicism teaches a powerful truth. Most emotional pain is not caused by what others do, but by what we tolerate. In this video, you'll discover the 5 sentences that instantly reveal a person is emotionally unsafe to build with. These aren't casual phrases or ordinary arguments. They are psychological indicators that this person cannot handle conflict maturely, cannot communicate without manipulation, cannot love without ego, or cannot commit without hurting you in the process. These sentences expose emotional immaturity, avoidance patterns, disrespect, and hidden intentions. And the moment you hear them, you must stop negotiating and start walking. Because the strongest thing you can ever do is leave the moment your self-respect is threatened. If someone speaks to you in a way that diminishes your worth, denies your reality, or destabilizes your peace, they've revealed themselves. Your job is not to stay and explain your value. Your job is to walk in silence and reclaim your power. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood. A private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits, just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once. Grow forever. Let's dive in. Section 1. You're too sensitive. The sentence that invalidates your reality. The first sentence that should make you leave immediately is deceptively simple. You're too sensitive. On the surface, it sounds like a mild disagreement, maybe even a harmless observation. But in the psychology of relationships, this phrase is far more dangerous than most people realize. It is not a comment about your emotions. It is an attack on your reality. When someone tells you that you are too sensitive, they aren't addressing the situation. They are dismissing your feelings, your experience, and your humanity in one sentence. This line is a psychological red flag because it reveals that the person is unwilling to take responsibility for how their actions affect you. Instead of acknowledging your hurt, they shift the blame onto you, making your emotional response the problem rather than their behavior. People who say this do not want understanding. They want control. They want to silence your emotional truth because it holds them accountable. This phrase is a form of emotional gaslighting, the type that slowly erodes your sense of self. It teaches you to doubt your own instincts, to question whether your feelings are valid, and to suppress your emotional needs in order to keep the peace. Over time, you begin to internalize the message. You start believing that maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe your expectations are too high. Maybe you should tolerate more. This is exactly how emotional erosion begins. Not with violence, not with insults, but with subtle invalidation disguised as feedback. But here's the truth most people don't want to accept. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. Sensitivity is emotional intelligence. Sensitivity is the ability to feel when something is wrong, even if you can't articulate it yet. When someone tries to convince you that your sensitivity is the issue, what they're actually saying is that your emotional boundaries inconvenience them. They want you to feel less, so they can do more without accountability. They want you to silence your intuition, so they don't have to silence their disrespect. They want you to adjust yourself to their comfort instead of adjusting their behavior to your emotional safety. A healthy partner never weaponizes your feelings. A healthy partner validates your emotional experience even if they don't fully understand it. A healthy partner has the humility to say, "I didn't mean to hurt you. Tell me what's going on." Someone who truly cares about you will engage with your sensitivity, not shame you for it. They will seek to understand your reaction, not punish you for having it. Stoicism teaches us that emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings, but about responding wisely to them. And the wisest response you can have when someone repeatedly tells you that you're too sensitive is to recognize the deeper message. They are not capable of supporting your emotional world. They are showing you, through their dismissal, that they are not safe for your heart. Once you hear this phrase in a consistent pattern, leaving is not abandonment. It is self-respect. Because if someone denies your emotional reality today, they will deny your emotional pain tomorrow, and eventually, they will deny your emotional worth altogether. Section 2. That's just how I am. The sentence that reveals emotional immaturity and zero accountability. The second sentence that should make you leave immediately is one that hides behind a casual tone but carries a dangerously revealing meaning. That's just how I am. At first, it may sound like a person expressing authenticity, as if they are being honest about their personality. But in reality, this statement is almost always a shield against accountability, growth, and emotional responsibility. When someone tells you, "That's just how I am," what they are truly saying is, "I'm not willing to change, even if my behavior hurts you." They are announcing, unapologetically, that they value their comfort over the health of the relationship. This sentence is the anthem of emotional immaturity. It signals that you are dealing with someone who refuses to reflect on their actions or examine their flaws. They use their personality as a rigid identity, not a flexible foundation. But the truth is that healthy relationships require evolution. No two people can remain exactly the same if they expect to grow together. "This is just who I am" is an emotional dead end. It's a mindset that blocks communication, blocks understanding, and blocks the possibility of healthy change. It reveals a person who would rather protect their ego than protect the bond you're trying to build. What's even more dangerous is how this sentence shifts the dynamic. Once they declare that they cannot or will not change, everything that follows becomes your responsibility. They place the burden of adaptation entirely on you. If they lash out, you must withstand it. If they dismiss your feelings, you must tolerate it. If they speak disrespectfully, you must absorb it. If they sabotage the connection, you must work harder to compensate. This is how slow emotional exhaustion begins. When one person refuses to grow, the other is forced to grow around them, often in unhealthy, self-sacrificing ways. People who use this phrase consistently aren't expressing authenticity. They are weaponizing stubbornness. True authenticity means acknowledging your flaws and being open to evolution. True emotional maturity means saying, "I struggle with this, but I'm willing to work on it." That mindset builds connection. "That's just how I am," destroys it. It's a way of shutting down conversations before they even begin. It is the verbal equivalent of slamming a psychological door in your face. Stoicism teaches us that character is not fixed. Character is shaped through discipline, awareness, and uncomfortable self-reflection. Anyone who refuses to evolve is choosing stagnation over connection. And stagnation is the death of all relationships. When someone tells you, "That's just how I am," they're revealing a fundamental truth. They will not meet you halfway. They will not examine their patterns. They will not take responsibility for how they treat you. They are telling you, clearly and without apology, that their growth stops here. The strongest and wisest thing you can do in that moment is leave. You cannot build a future with someone who refuses to build themselves. You cannot carry a relationship alone. You cannot love someone into maturity. Growth must be chosen. And when someone chooses to stay exactly as they are also choosing a relationship that will eventually collapse under the weight of their refusal to evolve. Section 3. If you leave, the sentence that exposes emotional manipulation and hidden control. The third sentence that should make you walk away instantly is subtle in wording, yet incredibly dangerous in impact. If you leave, This phrase almost always ends with a threat, a guilt tactic, or an emotional bomb designed to trap you rather than love you. It may sound like desperation, but beneath the surface, it reveals manipulation. Whether the sentence ends with, "I'll hurt myself," "I'll never forgive you," "I'll ruin your life," "I'll expose you," or any other emotionally charged consequence, the intention is the same: to control your decisions by triggering your fear, guilt, or sense of responsibility. This is not love. This is emotional imprisonment. People who use these phrases do not seek connection. They seek control. They are not trying to repair the relationship. They are trying to bind you to it. When someone resorts to these fear-based statements, they are telling you that they cannot hold you with respect, trust, or emotional maturity. They can only hold you through psychological pressure. This sentence is a confession that they have no tools left except manipulation. The most dangerous part is that these statements often come wrapped in vulnerability. They can sound like a cry for help. They can sound like emotional transparency. They can sound like a plea for understanding. But manipulation rarely appears aggressive at first. It often appears fragile. It targets your empathy. It targets your kindness. It targets your fear of hurting someone. It targets your desire to fix things. And slowly, without noticing, you begin to shrink yourself to protect their emotions. This is how control starts, quietly, disguised as need, disguised as fear, disguised as vulnerability. You start walking on eggshells. You start carrying emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. You start basing decisions on their reactions instead of your values. That is not partnership. That is psychological captivity. Stoicism teaches us that we are responsible for our actions, not the emotional threats of others. The moment someone tries to dictate your choices through fear, they reveal that they see you as an object of control, not a person with autonomy. A healthy partner does not use your fear to keep you close. A healthy partner does not threaten emotional collapse to prevent you from leaving. A healthy partner communicates pain, not manipulation. They say, "I'm hurting," not, "If you leave, I'll do something drastic." Threats disguised as emotion are still threats. You cannot build a steady, peaceful, respectful relationship on top of fear. No amount of loyalty can fix someone who uses emotional blackmail. This behavior reveals deep instability, unresolved trauma, and a lack of self-regulation, and it will only get worse over time. The strongest thing you can do when someone says, "If you leave, is refuse to participate in their emotional trap. You cannot heal someone who refuses to own their emotions. You cannot sacrifice your mental health to soothe someone's inability to cope. Love requires freedom. Manipulation destroys that freedom completely. Once this sentence appears, the relationship is no longer safe. You must walk away, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Your peace, your safety, and your dignity are not negotiable. Section 4. You're lucky I'm with you. The sentence that reveals hidden superiority and subtle emotional abuse. The fourth sentence that should make you walk away immediately is one that disguises arrogance as confidence, but is actually rooted in insecurity and emotional manipulation. You're lucky I'm with you. On the surface, it might sound like teasing or light-hearted banter, but underneath, this phrase exposes a dangerous mindset. It is a verbal tool used to position themselves above you, to make you question your value, and to slowly convince you that they are the prize you must fight to keep, even if their behavior does not justify that belief. When someone tells you, "You're lucky I'm with you," what they're really saying is, "I believe I'm more valuable than you, and I want you to believe it too." This is not confidence, it is superiority. This is not flirtation, it is emotional dominance. It is a subtle attempt to reshape the power dynamic in their favor by weakening your sense of worth and elevating theirs. And while it may not feel dangerous at first, repeated exposure to this sentiment becomes emotionally corrosive. Over time, these comments seep into your subconscious. You begin to question what you bring to the relationship. You start to believe that you're not good enough. You start tolerating disrespect because you feel lucky to have them at all. This kind of psychological erosion doesn't happen loudly. It happens slowly, quietly, gradually, through repeated microdoses of belittlement. It is one of the most common and least recognized forms of emotional abuse. People who use this line do so with intention. They want the dynamic to tilt in their favor. They want you to feel dependent. They want you to fear losing them. They want you to feel inadequate so they can remain in control. A healthy partner never makes you feel inferior. A healthy partner does not highlight your supposed luck in being with them. They highlight mutual appreciation. They say, "I'm lucky to have you too." They recognize your strengths, your presence, your value. They do not use superiority as leverage. They do not compare your worth to theirs. They do not use their attention as currency to keep you in line. Stoicism teaches us to observe character, not words. Someone who truly believes in balanced love never needs to assert dominance to feel secure. Those who constantly remind you of your luck are revealing their insecurity, not their value. They are afraid that if you truly recognized your worth, you might realize that they are the lucky one. The most dangerous part of this statement is that it conditions you to accept less than you deserve. When you believe you're lucky to be with them, you begin to tolerate behavior you would never accept from someone else. You excuse red flags. You minimize your needs. You overextend yourself. You pour effort into proving yourself worthy of someone who has already decided they outrank you. But self-respect is not built on proving your value. It is built on recognizing it. The moment someone tries to convince you that you are beneath them, the dynamic becomes toxic. The relationship becomes imbalanced, and your emotional well-being becomes compromised. The strongest, most stoic response to "You're lucky I'm with you" is not to argue or defend yourself. it is to leave. Anyone who needs to lower you to feel high does not deserve a place in your life. A true partner lifts you. A true partner respects you. A true partner recognizes your worth without diminishing their own. And a true partner will never make you feel lucky to tolerate disrespect. Section 5. You made me do this. The sentence that reveals blame shifting, deflection, and emotional danger. The fifth and final sentence that should make you walk away immediately is one of the clearest signs of emotional immaturity and psychological manipulation. You made me do this. This sentence is the birthplace of blame shifting. It is the anthem of someone who refuses to take accountability for their actions, their choices, and their emotional responses. When a person says this, they are not describing a moment of frustration. They are rewriting reality to avoid responsibility. They are telling you, in a single sentence, that your behavior justifies their bad choices. And once this mindset appears, the relationship is no longer safe. You made me do this is the emotional equivalent of handing you the weight of their mistakes and forcing you to carry it. It allows them to behave however they want while holding you responsible for the consequences. They lash out, and it's your fault. They cheat, and it's your fault. They yell, lie, manipulate, or disrespect you, and somehow it's still your fault. This is not a misunderstanding. It is a weapon. A psychological loop that traps you into thinking their pain is your fault and their reactions are your responsibility. Blame shifters do not apologize. They redirect. They do not reflect. They deflect. They do not learn. They accuse. In their world, accountability is a threat and responsibility is an attack. So instead of admitting their mistakes, they place the burden of guilt on you. Over time, this pattern conditions you to question your instincts. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You start overthinking every word, every action, every reaction. You begin to believe you caused the very behavior that hurt you. This is how emotional self-doubt is born, not through loud toxicity, but through subtle psychological distortion. People who say, "You made me do this," are telling you something crucial. They lack emotional control. They lack self-awareness. They lack discipline. And without these traits, a healthy relationship is impossible. A person who cannot control themselves will eventually attempt to control you. A person who refuses to take responsibility for their actions cannot take responsibility for the relationship. And a person who blames their behavior on external triggers will never grow, never evolve, and never love you from a mature emotional place. Stoicism teaches us that every individual is responsible for their reactions, regardless of external circumstances. No matter the trigger, we choose our response. Someone who says, "You made me do this," has not reached even the first step of emotional mastery. They are ruled by impulse, governed by fear, and driven by ego. These individuals cause immense emotional harm because they punish you for their lack of self-control. The relationship becomes a cycle of accusation, apology, and false peace, a loop you cannot escape until you walk away. But here is the deeper truth. Leaving someone who says this isn't abandonment. It's protection. You are not responsible for someone else's wounds. You are not responsible for their emotional outbursts. You are not responsible for their past trauma, their reactions, or their inability to regulate themselves. You are only responsible for your peace. And anyone who tries to make you responsible for their behavior is a threat to that peace. "You made me do this" is not a plea for understanding. It is a warning. A warning that says, clearly and unmistakably, that this person is willing to sacrifice your emotional well-being to protect their ego. That is not love. That is not partnership. That is not a future. It is a trap. And the only way to protect your heart, your future, and your self-respect is to leave. In short, when someone says any of these 5 sentences, "You're too sensitive," That's just how I am. If you leave, you're lucky I'm with you. Or, you made me do this. They are not simply speaking out of frustration. They are revealing their emotional blueprint. They are showing you the kind of relationship dynamic they will continue to create. They are warning you, even if they don't intend to, that the connection will not grow, will not evolve, and will not become the healthy bond you're hoping for. These sentences may appear simple, but each one exposes a profound truth. This person is unsafe for your emotional world, and if you choose to stay, you will eventually lose pieces of yourself. The harsh reality is that most people stay long after the warning signs appear. They stay because they hope the person will change. They stay because the good moments blind them to the structural cracks in the relationship. They stay because leaving requires strength, self-respect, and clarity, qualities many people only begin to develop once the relationship has already damaged them. But Stoicism teaches a different path. Stoicism teaches that you guard your peace the same way a warrior guards his sword, with discipline, awareness, and unwavering standards. You do not wait for someone to apologize for their character. You do not hope they become who you wished they were. You watch their actions, you study their words, and you walk away when the pattern reveals more danger than promise. Leaving is not a sign of weakness. Leaving is strong because it requires emotional discipline. It requires the courage to face discomfort. It requires the maturity to say, I choose myself over chaos. When someone says these sentences, they are telling you clearly that they are not yet capable of healthy connection. You cannot fix someone who refuses to take accountability. You cannot reason with someone who uses words as weapons. You cannot save someone who insists on drowning both of you. The responsibility for their growth is theirs alone, and the responsibility